Today I have with me my two daughters.
Sierra, your youngest daughter. My name is Alyssa. I'm her oldest daughter.
And they are here to observe my speech. So good afternoon. My name is Michelle Benson, and I'm the person in charge of trying to get a service like Safe Bay a reality in my city. With the homelessness rate jumping from January 2021 to January 2022, 12.1%. This is a huge jump, and we need to come up with ideas. We need to problem solve ways that we can help the homeless community. So today I'm going to inform you about Safe Bay and why their services are important and meet a need in many communities. I would like to rely on HUD, Housing and Urban Development, which is at HUD.gov. Safe Bay, which is at steppingonduluth.org. USAFacts.org, and Atlanta Mission. What kind of situation causes homelessness? Is homelessness temporary or permanent? Are there solutions we can look at? These are great questions. What causes homelessness? Here's a list according to the Atlanta Mission, atlantamission.org. There are 7 items on this list. The first being lack of trustworthy relationships. Unfortunately, most people who find themselves facing homelessness do not have immediate family or friends that can help them out in their time of need. So lack of supportive relationships can be a huge problem, whereas if they have supportive relationships, they might have a place they can go temporarily until they are able to get into new housing. The next one on the list is illness and disability. When faced with major illness and disability, maintaining a job can be quite difficult. With that being said, how are you supposed to pay rent if you can't even maintain a job? The next one is abuse. This might be a statistic that shocks you a little bit. More than 90% of women and children who end up turning towards the street are coming out of a domestic abuse situation. More than 90% of those women and children. Without work. And then women leaving domestic abuse situations often have no place but the streets to go. Working but in poverty. In many states, the minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. Housing prices have gone up, and it's common for a 1-bedroom apartment to be around $1,000 per month. That is completely unaffordable to those working for minimum wage. The next one on the list is unemployment. With layoffs and discrimination still playing a part in unemployment, how can bills be paid with no job to pay the rent? Oftentimes, people assume that after losing a job, you should easily be able to find another, and this is not the case. This is the one that I think is probably affecting the most people: lack of affordable and attainable housing. Housing prices are skyrocketing. I have a friend of mine who's been a landlord for over 20 years, and when I talked with him about the price of rent just astronomically jumping up every year after year after year, his explanation was property taxes. The city keeps raising property taxes, and the only way they can keep up with the increased price of maintaining the property is to raise the rent. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. Personal hardship would be the last one. So what does that mean? Sudden situations like a car accident or an accident at work, or you suddenly fall seriously ill and you lose your job because of these things. Well, what if you can't work because you're on long-term disability? Things such as this, right? So how are you going to pay the bills? So what I really want to make a point of this, because I know that most people in my audience are surprised that substance use disorder did not make the list. Is it a problem for people who are homeless? Yes, sometimes it is. Seldom is it the reason behind getting evicted or losing housing. Oftentimes, the substance use comes after the homelessness, and people turn to drugs and alcohol as a way to self-soothe, so to speak. So that might surprise you a little bit to see that wasn't even on the list. So what I would like to do, I would like to introduce you to a service I found in Duluth, Minnesota. The service is called Safe Bay. It is meant to be a temporary solution for those living in their cars. This is a list of the services provided and for whom the services are intended. And this you can find on steppingonupduluth.org. There's a security guard for overnight sleeping. This helps prevent nosy neighbors and police from interfering with you trying to sleep or, waking you up. Yes, security would also protect you from having something stolen from you or whatever. They provide Wi-Fi, they provide bathrooms and showers, washers and dryers, breakfast, charging stations, and what I believe to be the most important service they provide is assistance with filling out housing applications, because not everybody automatically knows how to do that. So who uses this service? This service is open to anybody living in a vehicle. It can be a car, a van, a camper. It can be a single person, a couple, a family with kids. It can be people with pets, living right where they're supposed to be. So what I'd like to do real quick, I live in Rochester, Minnesota, home of the great and wonderful Mayo Clinic. And I want to compare and contrast Duluth with Rochester. Duluth has a population of 86,000. Rochester has a population of 108,000. Duluth has 155 homeless shelter beds available every single day and are at or above capacity at any given day of the week. In Rochester, where I live, we have one homeless shelter and it's got 12 beds. So I think that there's plenty of room excuse me, I think there's plenty of room for a service like this here. So what I need to do is get some people together with me, form a group, and really get to the bottom of how to start a service like this. Do you have any questions?
So is homelessness a more prevalent issue in bigger, metropolitan cities, or is it a bigger issue in smaller cities where there's less beds?
I would say it's a bigger issue in smaller rural communities because they have no services. They oftentimes have no shelters, no day centers, no free meals anywhere. They're sleeping in places not fit to be slept in. Any other questions? No? Great. You guys have been wonderful.